What's up, disc golfers? Joe here with Joe's Disc Golf, and you might have noticed a few changes here with the studio, with how I'm dressed, with the fact that I'm wearing headphones again, and it's just me talking. And I know those are the most important questions that you have right now. Why did you change the color of the studio? Well, it is part of the basement, and the basement just needed a fresh coat of paint. It's also the home theater air quotes right there. So to cut down on reflections, it's a darker color. And I think it looks actually pretty good here. You might have noticed that I have an MVP disc right up there. Check that out. That is because the rock that I had, the USDGC rock that was red, kind of blended into the Rookwood wet red. Rookwood red. Talking is hard. It's also especially hard because my daughter managed to get me sick from this weekend. She decided that the best place to sneeze would be directly into my face. So I'd like to thank her for the sore throat, the much deeper tones in the voice, the sinus headache, and pressure in my ears. So everything sounds really, really, really strange. And speaking of sound, this is attempt number 3 at trying to record this podcast because time number 1, I was on mute. Time number 2, had some other audio issues that were related to noise suppression. And so my kept and that what it sounded like. So no, nothing is broken. That's just what it sounded like. And I figured I didn't want to listen to that, so you guys didn't want to listen to that. Well, here we are. But before we get too much further into it, we have to thank our sponsor, Log. What rolls downstairs alone or in pairs rolls over your neighbor's dog. What's great for a snack and it fits on your back. It's log, log, log. It's better than bad. It's good. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. You're going to want it, log. You're going to love it, log. Come on and get your log. Now, you might be able to hear that congestion in my voice a little bit better there, but don't worry, I've got a big glass of tea with honey and lemon. Yummy, yummy in my tummy. A hot toddy would be better, but I still have to go to work. And drinking before you go to work is almost always a bad idea. Unless you're a taste tester for, say, like Jack Daniels, or maybe you're a bartender and having a drink at work isn't the worst thing ever. As long as you can still count and pour correctly, yeah, whatever. Going to work with a bunch of high schoolers makes you want to drink, but you can't. So there's that. We got plenty of things to talk about besides that. Also got plenty of water here too, because trying to power through this is going to be fun. This will probably be a shorter episode. We are talking about tour cards, Nikko Locastro, Lone Star Discs, Jennifer Castro, no relation, even though, you know, they have Castro in their name. And just like, yeah, whatever. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm also on Sudafed, so this is going to be fun. Sudafed makes me a little loopy, but it only lasts for like 4 hours for me, so it'll be worn off by the time I go to work. Yay. But yeah, this is going to be a good episode. This is going to be a really good episode. And talking about the Doomsday Discs Demolition Challenge trilogy thing, whatever. I call all of those 3-disc challenge things a trilogy challenge because 3 trilogy, that's how I associate it, not necessarily with the trilogy brands of Westside Disc, Dynamic Discs, and Latitude, but hey, it is what it is. So you get 3 discs, and I had heard of Doomsday Discs. I thought their decentralized manufacturing process was pretty cool. They're decentralized everything. There's no real home office. Like, you can't just go, like, you can go to Emporia, Kansas, and there you go. There's dynamic discs. Up in Michigan, I forget exactly where, you got Discraft and so on and so forth. California and North Carolina have two different. I think California is the main home of Innova. MVP out up in the East Coast, but Doomsday Disc, nope, don't know where they are. So you get 3 discs. You get a driver, which is the Dystopia. Pretty cool here. I got a nice little foil rainbow stamp here. Thoroughly enjoying it. More stable than the numbers would indicate. Normally this would be right around what an escape is. Your dynamic discs escape is what it should be. Or no, it should be right around a vandal, a dynamic disc vandal. Very understable. When I was throwing it, even in windy conditions, it was more like the escape. It's got a massive dome to it, as you can kind of see here. For those of you on audio, you're missing out on the beautiful visuals that I'm giving right here, right now. I've got my pink flamingo in the background. I've got all my discs up on the shelf over here. And I'm in my, what I'm going to call cool politician garb. That is a button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up and the top button unbuttoned. Because we just had an election here in the US, for all of my outside people outside the US, it was an election. Woo, go team. That's about all I can say, because whatever, this isn't politics. But tell me a time where you haven't seen a politician make a campaign stop and they're like, yeah, I'm the cool guy. I got my button down shirt rolled up. I'm being Mr. Cool. So I'm kind of making fun of all that. Meta, yay. But not Mark Zuckerberg Meta. That's just weird. Back to Doomsday Discs. We are back on track. I'm telling you, man, this is good. You're gonna have to take notes to keep up with this episode, because oh boy. Yeah, Dystopia ended up being a good driver. Might end up making it into my bag once I start feeling better and start throwing more. I'll see if I like this. It might kick out the escape that I have that's kind of beat up. We'll see. Who knows? There was one disc just from the description that I was like, that's probably going to make it into my bag. And that disc is their mid-range, the Frag. This blue, beautiful stuff right here and pink stamp. It's looking pretty sweet and sexy. By the numbers, you would expect it to be somewhere right around a Justice. However, it is nowhere near a Justice. It's not in the same ballpark. It is barely even playing the same sport, to be completely honest. It is closer to the Stego than it is the Justice. It's insane. This is so overstable. Most of the guys on my card, we threw it a couple times during warm-up, and yeah, we had it. It was fun. Crazy overstable. You could feel it if you're throwing it on like a roller angle, forehand roller angle. You could feel this disc fighting to turn over in your hand. That's how crazy it is. That is just how crazy overstable this disc is. Completely useless, in my opinion. And I'm a guy who loves overstable stuff. I have a Stego. I have a Tilt in my bag right now. Stego doesn't get used all that often. Tilt gets used more than the Stego, but that's, again, not saying very much. This is interesting. Although I do like their plastic, it is a little bendy. I'd say like a classic medium or BT medium or somewhere in there, maybe a hybrid. But it's a little that. It's very grippy. It hits the ground and just kind of sticks. Well, sometimes. You throw it on, say, one of those forehand hyzer angles, it's coming in to the right, and you expect it to either maybe stick, maybe kind of tumble to the right a little bit further because of its momentum. Frag says, no go, buddy. No go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to hit the ground, and I'm going to do an anti-skip, and I'm going to roll away, and I'm going to go end up in a spot where you don't want me. And that's what I'm going to do. All right, capiche? That's basically what the Frag does. I don't know why why the Frag has that accent, but it does. That's what it does. And the last but not least is your 5-gallon bucket lid. I think they call it the landmine, the Doomsday Discs landmine. Now, I hear you saying, because you've probably heard or seen on social media, what's the difference between a landmine and, say, a polecat? Well, a landmine is the same size as a mid range because look at this. I just hide it right here. No tricks, no gimmicks, no nothing. Believe it or not, right behind here, right behind this disc, I'm hiding the frag. It is the same size as a mid range. The lid you can see here is massive. It's what, maybe half an inch thick. It's crazy. Where the polecat is more of a normal thickness. I'd say this has more glide and more stability than a normal polecat. Now, I have not thrown a Halo polecat, so I don't know how it compares to that. From what I've been told, the Halo polecat is more stable than the polecat, but not compared to this. This is a shockingly stable. I was able to get some good forehand hyzers on this. I was able to get some backhand hyzers on this. I was able to throw this disc really, really well. What was interesting is one of the guys on my card hit first available hard. It was like a 250-foot hole, which you're thinking like, why are you throwing that hard? Well, you don't have a mid range. It's far too short for the distance driver. So you're throwing your lid, your 5-gallon bucket lead. And here, so he smokes the tree, ends up with like a thumb track essentially in the flight plate because it just bent and warped so bad. But it did not affect the flight. It was just as stable as it was as before he hit the tree. And we're thinking because, I mean, you look at the rim and it is basically throwing a brick into the wind. So in our minds, what we're thinking is the air hits it and just kind of bounces over, is basically what we're thinking happens. And so it doesn't actually get a big chance to affect the flight of the disc. Now, I know all of you physicists and engineers are listening to this going, "Dear God, stop talking. Please stop talking." I know, I get it. I do the same thing when people start talking medical stuff where I'm like, that's no, 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 no. No, WebMD is wrong. You do not have cancer. You have a paper cut. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong because WebMD says everything is cancer or some crazy disease that only 3 people in the world have. So yeah, there you go. Those are your 3 discs. Look for reviews, more in-depth reviews, hopefully coming out on the channel. Again, after I get healthy and I'm able to film and record and do all that fun jazz. But until then, you'll just have to figure it out on your own, I guess you could say. Pick up a disc. They're fun. Or run a Doomsday Demolition in your area. It sold out pretty quick here. It was a ton of fun. There are a lot of people who want to try these discs, and honestly, for like $30, you get 3 discs, you get a tournament, and you get a chance to win some stuff. It's pretty fun. Sorry, I hit the boom arm here. So yeah, Doomsday Demolition is done, and I survived somehow. I don't know how, but I survived. Now, moving on to our next topic, the new World Championship in is it at, no, it's not Lake Marshall. That was the Lake Marshall Open, but it is in Florida. And as of right now, as of the time of recording, it is still going to happen. It is still going on. And you're saying, like, why the hell would they cancel it? There's a tropical storm moving in through Florida, dumping a ton of rain today, a ton of rain tomorrow. Well, today as in Thursday, tomorrow as in Friday when you're listening to this, because that's when this comes out. And then I guess Saturday's looking okay, Sunday's looking great. But that's still not awesome to say the least. The weather's not looking good. There's a chance they could cancel it. The Disc Golf Pro Tour is monitoring it. This is a silver series, so not a huge deal if they do cancel it or modify it. There's 50 points up for it as it stands right now. Macy Valadiaz, and I cannot remember for the life of me, the guy who won it, are your points leaders right now for the 2022-2023 Disc Golf Pro Tour. So good job. First place, A+. Good job. I don't know if either of those or who's playing. There's a huge list. You get your tour card, you automatically get signed up, but you can drop your registration, not a big deal. And yeah, so it looks like it's a fun course. The caddy book is actually semi useful. They have actual distances from the tee to the basket in rings, essentially. So you got 100, 200, 300 feet, whatever. Shorter holes, they'll go by 50s or 25s. But overall, it's a great caddy book. Something that needs to be improved, and I think is improving as the tour progresses, and especially as we get back to some of these repeat places. We don't need another USWDGC. We don't need more Microsoft Paint projects because, I mean, I'm sure there's some artists out there who use Microsoft Paint because, the internet exists and someone wants a challenge. And I'm not saying you can't create good stuff. I'm saying they didn't create anything good with Microsoft Paint with that caddy book. Tangent done. Going back to the New World Championship. So that is happening. It is a par 66 for the women at just over 9,000 feet and a par 65 for the men at just over 10,000 feet with one 1,100-foot hole. So that will be exciting to watch. Hopefully, it will get played. It'll be the standard silver event. There are silver events, and I better use that correctly because if I don't use that correctly, Jeff Spring will jump through my computer and strangle me. Probably not. I don't know. It is a silver event, and silver events, as I mentioned before, are worth more than the silver series. They're worth 50 points instead of the 25 from this past season. So, good stuff there. Silver events are worth more. I believe there's a bunch of them now. You keep your top 3, and there are like 7 or 8, I believe, off the top of my head. There are 13 Pro Tour stops. And that is a great segue to talk about tour cards. Yes. You can find the article up on joesdiscgolf.com. You find where I'm talking about the tour cards because that's coming. And basically, the ones for 2023 are set. Not much has changed from 2022. You've already had one, you got one. You can apply for a medical exemption. So if for some reason like Eagle didn't get it, he could get one. You could also apply for another exemption for being um, international player, essentially. So, you played a whole bunch of the European tour, you did really well there, and now you're coming here, so you get a tour card. What's changing for the 2024 tour card? And on top of that, if you had before I get too far, if you had a 2021 tour card, you get one for 22 and 23. You get it for 2 years, essentially. So if you get it last year, you got it for the next one, and so on and so forth. So don't worry about trying to qualify too hard like that, at least not yet. But changing for the 2024, we're finding out that there is a path forward. We have a path on how you can earn a tour card without playing Tour Series events. So there will be a disc golf. How do I want to put this? How did they put this? There is a qualification series going through right now. They're looking for applicants for A tiers mostly, but if you're a really good B tier, you could end up with that. You could make it. And what they're going to do is they'll have these events there. It'll be A tiers. The winners all get points. Everybody who plays MPO and FPO will all get so many points. These are not tour points. They're not like Pro Tour Championship points. They're just tour card points. And at the end of the season, whoever has the top 6 MPO and top 3 FPO will all get a full tour card. And if you decline it, it just goes down to the next person. If you somehow qualify for a tour card through other means, say you jump in and win a Pro Tour stop for some reason, or something like that, or you're kind of one of those people who's bouncing back and forth. If you qualify for a tour card another way, your tour card will just be bumped down to the next person. Kind of like an amateur playing in pro. If they decline cash, say they get second place cash goes to third goes to fourth, so on down the line. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy right there. So that's pretty sweet. That's one option there. I think we're going to put in an application. Who knows? There are no determinations on just what that might be, but who knows? They're just taking applications. It hasn't been well publicized to my knowledge. I've put the word out there to some of my tournament director friends just to see if they're interested. Who knows? I think it's a really cool thing. If you win one of these qualifying events, you qualify for a partial tour card and you get to sign up for 6 events. If you win the points, and this is for all 2024, if you win the points, then you get a full tour card. Well, we have some more big news here. That is the fact that Lone Star Discs has signed Nikko Locastro. Nobody dares give me the raspberry. There's only one man who would do that. Lone Star. If you haven't watched Spaceballs, you need to watch it. It is hilarious. It's Mel Brooks' movie, and it is freaking hilarious. It makes fun of all the different space movies, mostly Star Wars, but there's some Star Trek. There's some alien comedy in there. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. You got to watch out for Pizza the Hut, so on and so forth. But Nikko Locastro signs a multi-year partnership, his words, not mine, with Lone Star Discs. No, there's been nothing said on how many years this is going to be. So a multi-year, it's at least 2 years. Nikko Locastro still has to be careful because he will be, once the season starts, his suspension will end before Las Vegas. He'll be able to play Las Vegas. Whether or not he does play Las Vegas, different story, but he should be able to play. He needs to be careful though, because one little slip up and the PDGA will drop the ban hammer and he will be out for the next 18 months because that's how long his probation. I believe it'll be 18 months. We'll see. Who knows? I mean, his sentence was dropped from 9 months to 6 months. I don't know. And that's not, he missed a handful of tournaments, not including the ones he voluntarily dropped out of. That's a whole separate thing. And maybe that's why his suspension was sooner. I don't know, or ends sooner. I really don't know, because the PDGA and all their claims of transparency aren't. And that's about all I can say. They reveal what they need to legally for the 501c3 status, but that's about it. And yeah, that's what we're going with there. Nikko Locastro, though, to Lone Star Discs, he has posted in other social media posts that he has gotten better. He has really cleaned up his act. He's got the help he needs. I hope he can maintain that through the season, because I'd hate to see his entire career tarnished by the last year or two, because he is a really good disc golfer. He's a fantastic disc golfer. He has won so many tournaments. He is always up there. He was always at one point he was up there as like what was it, around 2010, maybe a little earlier. He was up there top 3 constantly. He's a good disc golfer. I just hate to see something like the European Open and who knows what else really affect his legacy. And I think it's an interesting move by Lone Star Discs. I figured it would be a smaller manufacturer that would take a chance on him. I think he doesn't have any bridges left at Gateway and Clash. Nikko did give Clash a nice little bump. Let's be honest here. He definitely did. Good and bad press. He got some notice there. They dropped him as soon as things got tough. And I can't totally blame them. Clash did get a huge marketing boost from that. Plus, their commercials are awesome. Their commercials, I think, are freaking awesome. Now he's with Lone Star Discs, and there has been some fallout there, as expected, on dollar disc auctions on Facebook. There have been a handful of posts saying, I'm getting rid of all of my Lone Star Discs because Nikko Locastro is signed with them. Well, here's the thing. They already have your money, so they don't care. I mean, they're not happy that you're leaving, but in the end of the day, like, they already have your money. Why not throw a disc you like? And then when you lose it, it becomes unusable or whatever. Then buy something similar from another manufacturer, whatever that is. I haven't thrown any of Lone Star. It has been recommended a few times to me to pick up a few different things. I kind of looked at their putter, their penny putter, but I believe it isn't beaded, and non-beaded putters are the absolute worst, and that is a fact. That is a statement of fact, Jack. Get it right. Get it right. So we've got all that going on. We got Nikko Locastro to Lone Star Discs, and I do wish him the best. I really hope that this was an eye-opening experience. I hope this short suspension was kind of his rock bottom to go like, dude, I need to figure this out. I need to figure my crap out. Otherwise, this ain't gonna happen. I don't want to leave disc golf because I've been forced out, but because I physically can't do it, or the competition is just so good. I'm not competitive anymore on the touring scene. So who knows what's gonna happen now? But again, I wish him the best of luck. I'm rooting for him. I'm thinking, there's gonna be some fun stamps coming out, and maybe a little bit down the ways, they'll have some. They'll poke a little fun at this as long as everything goes well. But who really knows? And moving on to our last topic, covered here a couple weeks ago was that Quillette article, the Disc Golf's Leah Thomas moment, I believe it was called, where in it, the author talks about Jennifer Castro um sending an email posing as a transgender disc golfer trying to get into FPO and just like, hey, what's the process? What do I need to do? Email was forwarded onto the medical committee. Elaine King, who always seems to step in it and seems to be a walking PR nightmare, responded back like, "Oh yeah, we don't check that stuff. You can just do whatever. It doesn't matter, and no one can tattle on you because it doesn't matter. We don't care." Um, so there was that. And that article came out along with some other stuff where, they said that, Chloe Alice doesn't take the medication required to keep the testosterone levels down, or however, I don't know how that works exactly. That was my understanding. Publicly admitted this on TikTok and was reposted to Instagram and Twitter, I think. Either way, it was on TikTok originally and then referenced in the article, and there was the link in the article. So that right there should be a disqualification just because, like, you're not following the rules, but there is no enforcement of the rules. And as I said back at the Champions Cup, it's the Kristen Tatar and selective application of the rules. That's my biggest frustration in general. Now, the whole Natalie Ryan situation, you could say that Natalie Ryan belongs in FPO, belongs in MPO, wherever, whatever. Natalie Ryan is following the current rules. That, and by all accounts, is taking the medication as prescribed when prescribed as well. So I commend Natalie Ryan for that. However, I don't think Natalie Ryan should be an FPO, but Natalie Ryan is following the rules. Hopefully, and now the PDGA has been tight-lipped, especially after that horrible, horrible survey that was given out. That was more of a political survey than it was one to find out whether or not transgender women should be in FPO. No, but that is just my thought. Um, yeah. So there's that. So all this comes out. Jennifer Castro has all of those emails posted on her Facebook page. A lot of excerpts were taken for this article. And then all of a sudden, an anonymous complaint was given saying that she was trying to have some kind of unfair competition advantage. So, however, the rule was worded was more to do with competition than it was outside of competition. And the email that Jennifer Castro had said was just like, hey, I want information. You can find it all on her YouTube page. I'm trying to come up with an article with it. I'm trying to get a hold of her. If somebody has any contacts with her, I'd love to do an interview with her over Skype or whatever. So, send her my information if you can. I'm going to try to keep reaching out, and who knows, I'm small time still trying to grow here. But it sounds like this was a retaliatory thing because nothing ever came. Like, I don't understand what happened with it. I don't understand the rules that were cited don't make sense. They weren't they don't make sense. They weren't broken. So I don't know what's going on with that. And now she had to make a statement and could face a suspension for something. I'll be curious how this all goes out. All of those email correspondence is letters between the PDGA and Jennifer Castro. She posted all of those on her Facebook page, so you can read them all, come to your own judgment from there. Again, working on an article, trying to get all that up there. So, I give my 2 cents, try to report on it honestly, and then give my opinion in a separate article. That's what I'm trying to do. Trying to do disc golf journalism. Trying. I'll be curious how this all pans out. They said that she would get a response or a verdict in like 2 weeks or something. Who knows who even meets on this committee? Who knows what's going on with this committee? We know just as much as we did when Nikko went through a situation too. So who knows? Who knows? I don't know. We need some transparency with the PDGA, and I don't think we're going to get that. But I think that will do it for this episode. I am struggling to keep my voice right now. I'm struggling not to cough. And thank you all for watching. Thank you all for bearing with me as I fight through this sinus, sore throat situation, ears plugged up. Hopefully the audio sounds good. My ears, like I said, are all plugged up. It sounds like, in my right ear, it sounds like I've got water in my ear and everything sounds really far away and muffled. In my left ear, things are just kind of okay. We'll see how the audio comes out. I'm just going to apply my normal settings and hope for the best. So thank you all for watching. If you get a great tree kick, don't forget to thank Jesus. And if you get kicked deeper into the woods, well, you need to repent and reflect because you transgress against Jesus. Thank you all for watching. I've been sick. I've been Joe. You've been awesome, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.